think we are going live. Just wait till the little spinny thing gets going. Thought it's confirmed. There we are. We're live. Awesome. Welcome. I am so happy to have you here at the Spa Business Mastery podcast. And today we're back at it after the beginning of the new year. It's January 2021. And I know all of us were literally hoping that, once the clock ticked over to January 1st, hey, Nicole, 12:01, please let life get a lot easier. So unfortunately, we kind of tend to, it doesn't necessarily instantly get easier, but we tend to at least have this mental shift that feels a little lighter when the new year hits. So whether you have, big goals for your business, or whether you have just decided to give yourself a little bit of space as a spa owner to just regroup yourself after 2020 and all the craziness that has happened to our industry. I'm at this point, I'm not feeling super inspired to be like, push, crush it right now with business, just because life has been really difficult for a lot of us, not just with our industry, but with our own personal lives through COVID, through all the social and political upheaval that's happened. And we're all feeling just kind of a little tender right now. So if you are in that place where you're feeling a little tender, and you're kind of feeling like, oh, I should have these big crazy goals and I don't really feel like it, that's okay. Wherever you are in your own personal life, in your professional life, if you just don't have it in you to make really strong goals for yourself, that's okay. It's totally okay just to kind of move into 2021, be a little gentle with yourself. But I also want to make sure that you're being intentional, because even when we are being more gentle in terms of our pushing our own leadership and business growth, we want to be very intentional about what we are wanting to grow and how we want to grow it. Because we're really good at complicating things, and we don't want to complicate our spa business growth. So as today I am talking about, in particular, team growth, which if you are a solo and if you were a solo and you have moved into being a spa team, you know what I'm talking about. It's a big change. And sometimes the solos need a little bit of expectation management before they dive into their goal of building a spa team. Because as the business grows, it will always get more complicated. That's just kind of how business works. And it's a bad thing if you're not organized. If you are started off as solo and you moved into a team, things got much more complicated. You needed more systems and processes to keep things organized. But that's not all, that information isn't always shared with our solos who are moving into teams. So this topic today is called How to Get Started or Regroup Your Team Growth. And essentially what I want to share with you today is about systems. And when you are thinking about building a team, or if you have a team that kind of feels like a hot mess at the moment, like you're not loving your team, they're not all working on the same page. They're not. Maybe you have a couple of people, or even just one person that's a bit of a squeaky wheel. You are probably feeling that pinch of, I need to do something, I don't know what to do. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So as far as getting started with your spa team growth and development, and I'm talking to, if you're in the position, if you are a solo looking at building a team, or if your team that's a hot mess right now, then where do you get started? And my recommendation is that you get started with developing your team handbooks. The first one being your spa team handbook, then the operations manual, then a spa manager manual. When you have those documentation in place, they are the policies and the systems and processes of how the team relates to each other, how they're expected to perform and behave. It's all of the how to, all of the processes. essentially setting it up as a business. If you would think about to franchise, I mean, this is that whole franchising concept, systematizing your business like a franchise, is directly out of the E-Myth book. If you haven't read it, it's a perfect book for those of you that are either solos wanting to grow into a team, or if you're a team and you don't understand why it is driving you crazy. Read the E-Myth. Michael Gerber is the author. So the first document that I mentioned was your staff handbook. Now, the handbook is exactly like how you want the team to behave, at the team culture, the policies of the team, and how you guys relate to each other. An operations manual is the step-by-step how-tos of processes. And then your spa manager manual is only for your leadership team, whether that's just you, or maybe you have a lead esthetician, or maybe you do have a spa coordinator. But that manual is not for the rest of the employees to look at. That's for you to help guide your leadership process. So if you don't have any of those manuals, then I absolutely recommend that you start with the staff handbook, because that absolutely outlines the expectations of team behavior and, with each other and with clients and with leadership. Now, if you have a team already and it's feeling like a mess and not everybody is on the same page, then it's situation critical to develop a handbook. Maybe you already have a handbook. And so what I want you to do as your first steps is to essentially take a piece of paper and pen, start identifying what your current pain points are with your team, and then go through those pain points to see where you are. The first thing I want you to do is see where you're dropping the ball on things, because that is our responsibility as leaders in our business. We have to see where we are maybe missing something in our documentation. Maybe it's just been a verbal communication and it's not really landing with people. But whatever is bothering you, you need to go through to see where in your leadership you're dropping the ball. And maybe that's just you haven't updated your staff handbook for a long time. Maybe it's that you haven't nobody has really gone through the handbook in a really long time, and it hasn't been used as a regular tool to coach and guide your team. So once whether you have a handbook and it just needs some zhuzhing up, or you don't have a handbook and you create a handbook, that's not going to mitigate every single problem with your team members. It's just going to filter out a lot of it. And I want you to know that it is very natural if you've kind of done this regrouping in terms of your staff handbook and how you want the team to interact with each other, with leadership, with clients. Then if you're sharing this new manual with your team members, you may lose one or two, especially if they're the problem ones, because usually those team members aren't really too interested in complying. They usually just want to do what they want to do the way they've already done it, and it's very common to lose a few people once you do this kind of regrouping of your leadership. But I can guarantee you, even if those people are high earners, and I've experienced this myself, even if they're really good estheticians and they're great earners, if they're toxic to your team culture, they're toxic to your business. And whenever I have let go of somebody in that with those kinds of issues, I've always been it's made space for more aligned team members to come on board. I was just seeing your comment here, Nicole. Would that staff handbook be the same as what my HR company would have made? I'm not really sure. A staff handbook is essentially policies for your team. There might be a little bit of procedures, like I'm just thinking of your social media procedures. So you'd have a spa social media policy, and then maybe right underneath that is just your little procedures of how you want images taken, saved, uploaded, shared, that kind of thing. So I know that some companies tend to blend their staff handbook and their ops manuals together, and they call it a staff handbook. So that's why I'm not sure. I'd actually have to see it, Nicole, in order to be able to actually give you an answer on that. But if you've got if there is actual protocols in your staff handbook, that's more of an operations manual. Okay. Solos who are planning to build a team as part of your team growth, do yourself a huge favor and start building out your staff handbook, because it will save your sanity and it will keep your onboarding process, your training process, and your coaching process much, much more consistent. You won't kind of have to go back and try to regroup afterwards. Nicole says, okay, sounds like it then. I can add those how-tos then. So I would actually have a separate ops manual so that you're keeping those things separate. And your ops manual is going to be used much more often, especially with your training, your onboarding and training program. And then coaching. So, with your ops manual, especially for your estheticians, any of your service providers, I'd actually recommend putting those protocols in like plastic sleeves so that you can easily just pop them out of a binder, take them into the treatment room, and, they can have them as quick reference. All right, so as far as what goes, the actual details of what goes in a staff handbook, well, there's a lot of stuff that goes in there. And I have shared an outline about what's in my staff handbook that I've created for spa owners. And that I think that's maybe floating around on a couple of pages or a couple of Facebook groups. But if you would like a copy of of my spa handbook outline, then send me a DM either on Facebook or Instagram. On Facebook, it's Kirsten Foss Coaching. On Instagram, it is at Kirsten_Foss. And you can also send me an email at Kirsten@KirstenFoss.com. Now, if you need a handbook and you don't have time to put together a handbook, because let me tell you, it's a slog to do this from scratch, an absolute slog. I have a template that I'm developing it into an e-course. So it's a template, a spa handbook template that you can easily customize. You literally have to swap out, plop in your spa name and your logo in it. And the rest of the training is walking you through the whole handbook, item by item, to make sure that you understand why these policies are needed in there, and also to share with you how you can adjust them if you want for your specific business. So if that is something that you would like access to, it's not quite ready yet. I'm just putting some finishing touches on it, but I am going to leave a link here for my waitlist so that you get sent an email as soon as it goes live, that training goes live, the spa staff handbook. Template and tutorial. So that is coming mid-January. Today's date is January 7th, so it's coming soon. But if you want first access to it and special pricing for the launching it, get your name on that list. All right, that is it for today's Spa Business Mastery podcast. I am so glad that you were here to join us. And if you're listening to us as a podcast on iTunes or Google or Spotify, wherever you are listening from, I would love a review, and hit subscribe so that you get notifications for the next time I go live. We'll see you then.